Hello, my name is Benjamin Stroud and I am an ET255, and I'm going to be giving a presentation on a couple of different sustainable energy sources that we would like to implement on land that NCSU already owns in order to lower the reliance on conventional energy production that NCSU currently has in place. So by the end of this presentation, I really want to give a couple of ideas that provide the sense that sustainable energy is not only important to NC State, but it's also the future of NC State. And as you can see below, I have a chart that shows the different energy consumption levels for different utilities throughout NC State on fiscal year 2014. And also I have objectives that are going to provide the sense, as I stated earlier, that sustainable energy is the way to go, and how that's going to offset some of these different consumptions. And by doing that, I'm going to provide and identify some new sources of energy production that are sustainable, and specifically I'm going to provide three. Also, I want to focus on lands that NC State already owns and operates on, and there are four of those also, which you will see later on. And lastly, I want to focus on the pros and the cons of sustainable energy as compared to conventional energy production. As you can see, we have four areas of interest specifically that NCSU owns and operates, and the first one we're going to focus on is GW Hill Demonstration Forest, which is a 2,450 acre forest located in Durham, and it's used for summer camps coordinated by the College of Natural Resource, and NCSU has told us that they prefer we don't use it all, so later on you're going to see how much we plan on using and how much we plan on saving. Secondly, we have the Hosley Forest, which is a 252 acre forest currently managed for pine and natural bottomland hardwoods. And also we have the Shank Forest, which is a 300 acre property similar to Hosley Forest, except NCSU also does not want us to use it all. And later on you're going to see how much we used and how much we saved. And then lastly, we have the Lake Wheeler Field Laboratory, which is a 1,500 acre field laboratory that holds the different livestock that you see below. But we're only going to be focusing on dairy cattle for this. So to give you a little background on one of the methods of production that we're going to be using in order to create this sustainable energy, is going to be gasification. And what gasification does is it uses heat to turn biomass. What we're going to be focusing on is going to be dairy cattle waste. It turns that into hydrogen and carbon monoxide, which then turns that into syngas. Produces tars, methane, and char. For the most part, these are removed as waste, but they can also be turned into syngas as well from a special catalyst. Then this hot syngas that's produced is passed over a catalyst and then is morphed into a liquid, which is then cooled and condensed. And then from there, this product can be alcohol, can be gasoline, can be diesel, jet fuel, etc. And this picture we have here is an example of what a gasifier looks like. This one specifically is operated by Trigen in Lenore, North Carolina for Broyhill. But as you can see, we are going to be using the 190 dairy cattle, so we'll need a gasifier similar in size to this. The other method of production that we're going to be using is incineration, and sometimes it can be referred to as direct combustion. It's basically a complete burning of biomass in order to make energy to heat water to steam. It turns a turbine in order to make electricity, and a major difference between this and gasification is liquid fuels, char, and biogas are not final products in incineration. As you can see in this chart below, incineration ultimately leads to electricity production as a net output, but some of it's going to be lost to internal consumption as well. So the first resource that I want to talk about is switchgrass, and we're going to be talking about the incineration of switchgrass. This is a very sustainable area because it produces about 140 to 151 MMBTUs per acre, which is a great advantage as well. And it can also be implemented in two of the areas that we're interested in. And we're looking at about 2,000 acres of GW Hill Demonstration Forest and about 250 acres of Shank Forest. It grows extremely fast and tall, about 3 to 10 feet, and it will grow without supplemental nitrogen, but yields can double with the addition of nitrogen. Some disadvantages, though, that make this a little argumentative in the sustainability area is it's a single application crop. So if the market fails, farmers will now have a crop with little use, It's expensive to get rid of if it's unwanted, and also it's less diverse than other covers. And with the amount that we're trying to grow, the possibility of disease and pests are very high. Secondly, I want to talk about the incineration of short rotation woody crops and how the sustainability plays very well with the advantages. So as you can see, it produces about 108 to 136 MMBTUs per acre, and basically what they are fast-growing trees, and some of the species that fall under this category are American sweet gum, American sycamore, and cottonwood. And with them being second-generation woody crops, whenever they're cut, they grow back very quickly, and this is also another term for this is also coppice, and this makes it a very sustainable energy source because it's very easily replenished. And also an advantage is going to be the food versus fuel argument doesn't play well with this at all, especially with the area that we're interested in. So as you can see, we're looking at Hosley Forest in order to implement this short rotation woody crop. So right now it's currently being managed by pine and natural bottomland hardwoods, so there isn't any food currently being grown there. So that's not going to interfere with us at all. Some disadvantages, though, are going to be the clear cutting that we're going to have to do to get rid of the pine and natural bottomland hardwoods in order to implement these short rotation woody crops, and also the amount of money it costs to go ahead and prep the area per acre. It'll be about $1,000 per acre. So those are a few disadvantages that are going to go with this as well. So the last area that I want to focus on is going to be dairy cattle waste and the gasification of that waste. One mature cow produces about 4,400 to 8,800 BTUs of capturable energy. This waste is simple to gather in order to make it into a sustainable energy source. But the actual huge thing that cows have is potential energy. And if we can figure out a way to store the belches and the flatulence that cows give off, we could accumulate an extra 13,000 BTUs per day, or almost 5 million BTUs per year, and that's per cow. Some disadvantages, though, kind of play into the advantages. As you can see, a lot of energy is lost due to the flatulence and belches, and this is majority going to be methane. Cows also need to eat a lot of grass, so if there's a really bad drought one year and the grass doesn't grow nearly as well as it did the year before, that could also take a toll on the manure produced. As you can see, on average, 24 pounds per day is the amount of grass that a cow needs to eat. And also, using manure as energy takes manure away from being a fertilizer for other crops. So let's say the manure that NCSU currently has from their cows is being used for maybe horticulture science students. Now that manure is being taken away from them as fertilizer, so now they have to go and find a different source for this fertilizer. So that's a disadvantage. So with these new sustainable sources that we want to get our energy from, we come up with 6 different energy offsets, and just to go over a few of them, we would like to use incineration of switchgrass to power electric vehicle charging stations both on Main and Centennial campus. And also another one would be use dairy waste biofuels for alternative fuel vehicles in NCSU fleet. And as you can see, we have 4 others as well. So based on the 6 energy offsets that we came up with based on the 3 energy sources that we stated in previous slides, our most preferred is definitely incineration of switchgrass in order to lower the reliance on conventional electricity generation. And the reason for that is the sustainability of switchgrass is just outstanding. It grows very quickly. It produces up to 151 MMBTUs per acre, and yields can double if nitrogen is applied. And based on the areas that we're trying to implement switchgrass, it can produce almost 100 gigawatt hours of potential energy. And as I said, the sustainability of switchgrass just outweighs everything, and the amount of energy that it can produce should be enough to really sway you on whether or not NCSU should adopt alternative energy sources, and especially adopt switchgrass as an alternative energy source. I want to thank you so much for listening, and I hope that you strongly consider this.